The nature of conflict has changed a great deal in the decades since our charter was written. The age of interstate wars has been replaced by the age of ethnic conflict. Militias have multiplied and small arms have proliferated. International law has been flouted. Civilians do not only make up majority of victims, they are increasingly the targets of conflict. From rape and displacement to the denial of the right to food and health care, women bear more than their fair share of the suffering. But women who know the price of conflict so well are also often better equipped than men to prevent or resolve it. For generations, women have served as peace educators, both in their families and in their societies. They have proved instrumental in building bridges rather than walls. They have been crucial in preserving social order when communities have collapsed.
If you look at the First World War, only 15% of the casualties were civilians. After the Second World War, it was 65%. But in today's world, it is 80 to 90% of casualties are civilians, and of that, the majority are women and girls.
We need to find new forms of solving conflict. We cannot go into another war, because now we have the resources to destroy each other completely and destroy the planet.
Now we've come to understand that not only no man is an island, but no country is an island. And that unless we look globally for peace, we cannot find peace at home.
Most of the time, I never doubted that I will not be back. I knew that I'll be back. But it was at the end of Taliban's era that I thought maybe I will never see my country. And I hated that feeling. I always wanted to have hope. And here I am, back where I was born. My name is Fatma Gailani. I'm from Afghanistan. I was born and brought up in a country where women, in the constitution, under an Islamic law, under an Islamic constitution, they were equal. We had equal rights in education, in work, in political participation, and I could see it was getting better and better. Then I went for my further studies to Tehran in Iran. I was still a student in Tehran when I heard on the radio that there was a communist coup in the country. We were lucky that some of us were already out, and then my father decided that we have to get out immediately. So, thank God we are safe. And most of us spent the whole of 24 years working for the country.
A quarter century of war has devastated Afghanistan. Its strategic position between Central Asia and the Middle East has turned it into a battleground of competing ideologies. In 1979, Afghanistan was on the brink of democracy when the Soviet Union seized power in a communist coup. For the next 11 years, war between Russia and the U.S.-supported Afghan guerrillas would bleed the nation dry. When the Soviets withdrew, Afghanistan's internal wars continued as warlords and ethnic groups fought for dominance. By 1996, Islamic extremists, the Taliban, were in control. Women were denied education and faced public execution for breaking Taliban law. After the terrorist attacks of September 11th, the U.S. demanded the Taliban hand over Osama bin Laden, head of al-Qaeda. When they refused, the U.S. launched airstrikes. A month later, coalition forces controlled Kabul and most of Afghanistan. Hamid Karzai, appointed interim head of state, was charged with drafting a new constitution. More than 18 months later, violence and intimidation again threaten women. Girls' schools have been attacked and children harassed on their way to class. Outside of Kabul, where there are fewer peacekeepers, women are routinely beaten and raped. The human rights situation seems to be getting worse.
I'm going to meet a circle of women whom I've been looking forward to meet for quite a long time. یک دختر جوان افغان که زن آینده افغان می باشه او برای صلح چی کده میتونه؟
یک خدمت بتونیم دیگه به می قدرت کال داریم. یک معلم کودکستان هستم دیگه میخوایم که همطور صحیح اولاد تربیه شود.
اگر در یک جامعه جوان به صورت درست تربیه نشه، خدای نخواسته مثلا تروریست یا به قسم تربیه شوند، این بسیار تاثیر منفی به جهان داره. به خاطر که اگر در یک جامعه تروریست تربیه میشه، مثل که در 11 سپتامبر یا 3 اتفاق افتاد، یا توسط تروریستایی بود که به حساب در یک جامعه تربیه شده بودن.
باید ایرقانی باشیم که تا 1 سال پیش که تا 10 ماه پیش نه مکتب رفته میتونستیم، نه کار کرده میتونستیم، نه میتونستیم که حتی صدای خود بکشیم. این خو یک از 50% که زیادتر مشکل ما حل است. Imagine how hurtful it was during the Taliban's era that we couldn't even be educated. Women could not be educated. Those who didn't have any means to help themselves, they lost a lot.
My name is Nahid شریفی
و در پغمان در حدود 10 کورس داریم. 10 کورس در حدود 300 نفر شاگرد، دخترای خرد کلان از سن 7 ساله به بعد، 8 ساله 9 ساله، زنای جوان پیر، اینا کسایی هستن که میخواین درسای سواد آموزی رو یاد بگیرن.
آمد بازار رفت. در آخر جمله وقتی که جمله ما ختم میشه ما شما نقطه میمانیم، نه؟
I have a little NGO here in Kabul, Afghanistan, dedicated to helping women earn a living for themselves and their families. We started back in '97 with our first homeschool, in which we found a woman teacher who would gather the kids in her neighborhood and form them into a class and teach them. All during this time, the Taliban put a special heavy emphasis on locating homeschools, and they were following our supervisor, Nahid. She was very, very brave. She continued on her work even though the Taliban were following her. So that's how she got started, and she's just flowered, blossomed in this job. She does a wonderful job. The fact that all these traditionally based families have allowed their girls to go to these schools is a big step forward. And that's why we don't want to endanger it. We don't want to take any chances that the men will totally